Hey guys, this is Valen here with Valen Games. I'm ready to go into another aspect of Game of Thrones Beyond the Wall for you guys. Now, as you may have noticed at this time under the legendary events over here by the Weirwood Tree, we currently have the Field of Fire Targaryen Perspective Challenge events going on. Now, as you can see, these are time limited, so I know a lot of people are going to want to rush through these, particularly those of you who did not start on launch day. So for this video, I'm going to go over the original challenges. These are the 5 story challenges right at the start that allow you to use Dany at her full power with other units that the game provides you. I'll go into the easy, normal, and hopefully eventually hard challenges later on, which use your own version of the character as well as your own soldiers. But I'll be doing those in separate videos. So let's get into it. So this is number 1, and as you can see, you're going to be starting off with just Dany in this one, and she is not going to be getting any support. Now, the thing to remember with her is even at full power, she's a low HP toon. So she can very easily be hurt by these enemies here, and the key is to keep her at a distance until those horsemen get taken out by her special ability on turn 2, which are just going to entirely wipe them out. So, not a big surprise, the very first mission is pretty simple. Alright guys, so moving on to easy challenge number 2. Once again, we're going to have the same issue where I'm just kind of overpowered for this, and so the main thing I'm going to be doing is just trying to show you a couple different elements here. Man, these scroll bars are terrible. I am going to try to nerf my team again for you guys, and use relatively low-level characters here. In this case, I'm going for a shieldsman and a fighter, level 1 and level 10. And hopefully you'll at least be able to see some of the dynamics and adapt this to your team. So right now, as you can see, we're facing 3 shieldsmen and 2 greatswords. As always, the shieldsmen are going to be a bit more maneuverable. For those of you who have a Dany at my level, really you want to just gather everybody towards the center here, in the hopes of getting everybody in one spot. You're even going to hold off on using her ability until they're all gathered together, because with a Dany this strong, we can just one-shot them. However, that's not what I'm going to do here, since most of the people watching this probably have a hero that's going to be a bit lower of power. In your cases, what you're going to be doing is using that ability as soon as you can to target as many of these guys as you can. If you can get more shieldsmen in there than I did, that's fantastic. Those are the more maneuverable ones, and they're going to cause you more trouble. At your power, what you just saw is probably only going to take them out about halfway down, maybe a little bit more after they've had some burn over the next couple of turns. From there, our main goal is just to use our melee fighters to hold them off while Dany regenerates her ability. Sorry guys, I'm having trouble clicking today. And of course you want to do what you can to gather them closer so that you can be effective when she does eventually regenerate. I'm not going to bring her into the battle right now. A, because if you guys were weaker, she would actually take considerable damage, and B, because at my level, she could probably just stab them with the spear and we'd be done. But you can see that I'm not focused on attacking those shieldsmen so much as I am on just keeping them off of Dany's back while she regenerates her ability. Now, of course, if the burn value gets them awfully low in health and you think you can take them out with a simple hit or two with your melee guys, feel free to go ahead. You are welcome to do so, and that may be a more efficient way of ending this. Again, each person's situation is going to be unique. We're just going to use that shieldsman to gather those two guys together so that we can take them out on this final dragon strike. Depending on just how weak your Danny is, you may have to lead them around the chase for one more time until turn 8 or 9 when she regenerates her ability for the third time to take them finally out for sure. Now moving on to easy challenge number 3, you're going to see that we are up against some much more maneuverable units. Every single one of these can move at least 2 spaces at a time. In the case of that horseman, he can actually move several. So the goal in setting this up is once again holding off the enemy, and truthfully this is something that you'll see pretty much throughout these challenges, though it's a little bit more so against enemies like these. The goal is to really just hold off these enemies for as long as possible while Danny gets her skills together. Depending on the different soldiers you use, you can do that in a couple of different ways. Now, believe it or not here, even though the horse is the most maneuverable, I'm actually more worried about that bowman more than anybody else, followed by the shield guys, because they can do a bit more damage to her, even though they can't necessarily get around my soldiers as well. So what we want to do is try to gather as many of those guys together for when her ability is ready to strike. And when choosing which target to select, we're going to choose the one that gets the most of those shieldsmen and bowmen in there as possible, even if we have to leave the horse out. Now again, many of you won't be able to do this in one shot with that dragon. Most of those guys will more likely for you just take a fair amount of damage and then keep running the map. And so you want to be constantly keeping Danny on the move once she's able to do so again, and in the meanwhile, just continuing to protect her with those melee fighters, or if you need to, your bowman. More likely than not, you're probably going to have her run along that edge while your guys continue to hold off the enemies, whoever remains. And you'll probably do that for another 2 to 5 turns or so while Danny regenerates. In my case, I'm probably going to be able to take them out on the second shot. Some of you may need to continue to dodge for up to 3 turns, depending on how early you're going into this. Up to 3 regeneration cycles, I mean. Move him just in case the horse decides to start chasing Danny there. But by next turn, we should have this in the bag. And here we go. So guys, do of course continue to remember that these are not going to be perfect guides for you. Each of you are going to have your own unique soldiers and setups for both Danny and those soldiers, and you're going to have to adapt what I'm showing you accordingly. Some of you may have to take more hit and run strategy, others of you may be able to be a bit more direct, depending on just how overpowered you are. Alright, now moving into easy challenge number 4. You're going to see that we're up basically against a lot of horsemen, so we need to set this up in a couple of different ways. First thing is, unless you're overpowered like I am at the moment, you're not going to be able to take them all out right off the bat. Instead, you're probably going to be dealing with the game of holding them off and limiting their ability to get to her for a while. Hopefully by now you have unlocked her heal ability, which will make this level a bit easier, but if not, that's okay too. The main thing is limiting how many of them can hit her at once until you've narrowed the field, and then just playing a game of dodgeball with the remaining enemies until her dragon regenerates enough to keep hitting them. I do like to have a bowman in this, just to keep, because he's going to be the most effective in just kind of tearing them down as they're burning. And I usually start when I'm weaker by moving her to that zone there and letting my big guy here hold them off. I'm going to get my bowman into the general area here, a shieldsman or fighter up a little bit closer. And that's all going to help gather them into one place for me. You really want to make sure that fire gets those horsemen, as many of them at once as possible. As you can see, I can target it to take out most. I'm actually going to hold off on that for one more turn, because again, most of you won't be able to take them out in one shot, as I will. Instead, what you're going to be doing is kind of trying to bleed some of them off a little bit, and you'll do whichever ones make the most sense to you at the time. So assume that my turn 3 is really going to be what turn 2 is like for most of you. You'll probably have lost one or two of your guys, and then you're going to have to play some dodgeball. So I can target pretty much every single one of them right now, but again, you're not likely to have this setup, so I'm going to try and show you something more like what you'll have. You'll probably have at least one or two left after all is said and done. So I'm going to leave one at full health just so you can see what we're up against. With luck, you'll still have one guy to hold them off for a little bit as your Danny starts to run. And then you just want to keep her going for a few turns till this is over. And that's it. So the last challenge we're going to go through today is going to be easy challenge number 5. Now, I'm not going to really be able to run you through most of the battle on this, simply because of how it's set up. I'm way too overpowered, so I'm mainly going to talk you through it. We're going to get Danny up to the back there. And it doesn't matter who I select here because they're never really going to engage with the enemy, but typically you're going to want some melee and maybe a bowman up front. What's going to happen here is these 3 guys are going to move forward very slowly while this guy stays back and continues to create new great swordsmen. And what you're going to want to do is just move these guys up a little bit so that they have something to engage in your second or third turn. And then you're going to start moving Danny off to this corner over here. Oh, I forgot to hit them with the dragon. Oh well. That actually may make this easier for me to show you. But typically on that second turn, you're going to hit this guy with the dragon. It's going to take out these 2 soldiers here, leaving these 3 alive, but damaged for your melee to occupy. If those melee occupy long enough, you're going to have to hit them with dragon fire a second time to take them out. But if you're lucky, they won't, and you can just use that dragon fire on this fighter right here, who's going to, again, continue to remain back there. Meanwhile, once you've taken out all of those soldiers there, you're probably going to have few, if any, melee left, and you're going to want to just keep moving Danny down along this side so that on her 3rd or 4th so that on our 4th Dragonfire she can hit that fighter and then give him a nice little stab to take him out. That's not going to happen here, we're just going to wipe out everybody with one go, but that is the basic gist of it. So that fighter is still alive, but he's going to die off that burn. So again, I know that wasn't the most informative one for you to watch, but hopefully you had the audio on and were able to hear some of this strategy as I explained it. It's actually a pretty easy mission, believe it or not. Anyhow, that's all I'm going to do for today. I'll add a future one with easy challenges 5 through 10, and then some of the normal challenges and eventually hard challenges, which hopefully will be a bit more helpful since they're going to be at a level where I actually have to work for them. Please remember to like and subscribe. It is important to help me grow that viewer base so that I can continue making these videos for you guys. Anyhow, have a good one.